Welcome, movie watchers. Thank you guys for stopping by my channel. If you guys love to watch movies like I do and Godzilla, of course, you guys are in the right spot. Make sure to hit that subscribe button down below and click that bell notification for more up and coming videos. Why rank all 4 of the MonsterVerse movies when we can rank all 36 of the Godzilla movies? This list will include the 1954 Godzilla film all the way to the most recent Godzilla vs. Kong film. So make sure to leave your list down below. How would you rank all 36 Godzilla movies? Have you seen all 36 Godzilla movies? Did you even know that there was 36 Godzilla movies? This has been an adventure. I've started this in January, watched all 36 Godzilla movies, and I had an absolute blast. But enough with that. Let's get started with this list. Coming in at number 36 is All Monsters Attack. This is a bit of an odd movie. It just feels like a bunch of clips with Godzilla and his son, Manila. It has an anti-bullying message in it. It's a bit of a frustrating film. It has similar themes and similar techniques to this movie from other previous Godzilla movies, but it really doesn't work. It's a terrible film that the message and the overall structure of this film is just off. Coming in at number 35 is Son of Godzilla. We are introduced to Godzilla's son in this movie, Manila, and the designs are absolutely terrible. The costume designs are so horrendous, and I like the idea of Godzilla having a son. This film is very lighthearted. It's very campy. We see a lot of Godzilla ignoring his son and kind of being a lazy dad, just lazing around. But the film never feels like it's doing anything besides just having Manila and Godzilla together. It feels like it's never really progressing with a story. There's a whole lot of nothing happening at times. So at times this film is a bit of a drag. It's not that exciting, even though we do get a new character within the Godzilla universe. But other than that, it's just a pretty boring film. Coming at number 34 is Ebirah, Horror of the Deep. This is one of the more campier, earlier Godzilla films. Godzilla has more of a personality in this one, which adds to some of the silly moments in the film. The action scenes between Godzilla and Ebirah are filmed pretty well. The human story is easily the weakest part of the movie. Every Godzilla movie pretty much has a human story within it. Sometimes that's a gripe, sometimes it really works in a movie, but in this case it doesn't work. Parts of the story dragged and the tone of the film is kind of all over the place. Though they play volleyball with a giant boulder, so there's that. Coming in at number 33 is Godzilla City on the Edge of Battle. This is the second installment in the Godzilla trilogy on Netflix that is animated. There's only 3 animated Godzilla film, and I think the second film is the weakest of the 3. This film drags significantly. I like the idea of this movie with Mechagodzilla City, but it never feels like it's amounting to much. It's a very underutilized aspect of the film. Godzilla still feels enormous, but still feels like he's not really moving. He's just in one spot for most of these movies. It's a bit of a longer one compared to the previous 2 entries, but it never feels like it's gaining momentum to get to the point where you know it can get. It's still covering certain themes from the first movie, like revenge and the military aspect of it, but the big scope of it all kind of drags. Coming in at number 32 is Godzilla Planet of Monsters. This is the first Netflix animated Godzilla film. I think it does a great job setting up some of the characters, even though they become pretty paper thin throughout the movies. The revenge plot against Godzilla is strong in here in the beginning of the film, and I absolutely loved the idea for this movie set in the future and how Godzilla has become very powerful on Earth and no one lives on Earth, and it's just really been taken over, and he's growing and growing. He's not stopping. So when they get there and we see Godzilla for the first time, I feel like it's built up nicely throughout, but the film quickly shifts from a revenge plot in the beginning to a military film, and that military aspect of the movie I think is one of the weaker parts of the movie. And I think that Godzilla is really big in this movie, and the scope of it, and I love the scope and the size of Godzilla, but he's stagnant. He doesn't move. He's just there, and they are going around trying to attack him, and I would like to see a little bit of movement from Godzilla. I think it would provide it a little punch to the movie, a little more excitement. But overall, these Godzilla animated films, they're just kind of at the bottom because they're kind of bland at times. The characters are very paper thin when they cover most of the movie. I just don't really find much of it to be interesting. Coming in at number 31 is Godzilla. This 1998 remake from Roland Emmerich is one of the first movies I've actually seen in theater. I like the idea of the film. The designs of Godzilla are completely off from the original designs. It has a Roland Emmerich feel very much. A lot of different characters. They each have their own individual stories. They all kind of come together. We see that a lot in his films. And some of the characters are interesting in here. Some of the characters are just pretty pointless, and you could cut out certain storylines, really add to the, you could really focus a lot more on Godzilla. The whole cast is kind of all over the place, and they really don't fit their parts, especially Matthew Broderick in the film. The designs are absolutely terrible. The CGI is absolutely outdated. To call this a Godzilla movie is a disgrace to the original Godzilla because it looks terrible, and the film is pretty bad as well. Coming in at number 30 is Godzilla Planet Eater. This is the last Godzilla animated Netflix film, and I enjoyed it because of Ghidorah. He is in the movie, and I love the different names that they offer for Ghidorah, and I love the different take on him as well, set in the future, and how he could attack Godzilla, but Godzilla can't attack him. That's part of the film, and I really did enjoy that. There's some nice build up for it, but still a lot of it is very paper thin, and the progression is pretty bad, and there's not a lot of those exciting moments prior to this epic battle, and the story feels like it's pretty repetitive, like it's the same thing over and over again. A lot of argument within the military trying to figure out how to defeat Godzilla spanned over 3+ hours, and I feel like it really could have been condensed to either like a series or just one movie. I think it would have been just fine. Coming in at number 29 is King Kong versus Godzilla. Yes, this movie is very campy. Yes, it is pretty stupid, but you know, it's fun. It's simply put it, it's just entertaining of how bad it is. It's one of those Godzilla movies that the fight sequences and the costume designs just look absolutely terrible. But when you watch this movie, we know it's not going to be the new Godzilla versus Kong, but when you watch this film, you just can't help but smile and laugh at what's going on. You kind of like just make fun of it. And that's one of the reasons why it doesn't sit at the bottom of the list, because you can actually have some entertaining moments within the film. Coming in at number 28 is Godzilla vs. Megalon. Godzilla and Jet Jaguar face off against Megalon and Gigan, and you know, it's pretty fun at the end of the film. I kind of like the human plot in here as well. An inventor creates a humanoid robot named Jet Jaguar. It is soon seized by an undersea race of people. They send Megalon as vengeance for the nuclear test that had devastated their society. I think the plot is pretty engaging as well. Even though I like some of the aspects of the plot, the overall story and some of the characters are a bit dull, and we don't get much of Jet Jaguar in his full form. We just get him in his regular human form for most of it, so he doesn't really serve a purpose. He's just kind of there. Coming in at number 27 is Godzilla vs. Gigan. This has a pretty fun setup for some of the characters in here. A manga artist lands a job at an amusement park only to become suspicious of the organization when a garbled message is discovered on tapes. We have a large Godzilla statue that has an elevator and a secret layer at the top of it. It's pretty funny. Not only is Gigan in the film, but Ghidorah is also in the movie. But we also have Megaguirus in the film, but Godzilla and him quickly come up with their own plan to stop Ghidorah and Gigan. Pretty fun action scenes at the end. Some of these Godzilla movies kind of around this era, all centered around like a couple different villains fighting off against Godzilla and an ally, and this one's really no different. The plot is pretty dumb, it's pretty silly, and the action scenes at the end are fun, but other than that, it's just kind of average. Coming in at number 26 is Godzilla Raids Again. This is the first time that Godzilla faced off against another kaiju. The first film was just centered on Godzilla, and this film he fights off against Anguirus, who was in the most recent film I just talked about. They were enemies in this film, but they did become allies later on. Some of these earlier Godzilla movies I like because they focus on how a city is trying to plan for an attack against Godzilla and then prepping for that. Some of the earlier Godzillas really focus on that, and I like that smaller aspect of it. Now, this film is very similar to that original 1954 Godzilla while adding another kaiju into the mix. But it's not as memorable or as impactful as that 1954 film, which you are going to see later on this list. But this film, Godzilla Raids Again, is in black and white as well as the 1954 film. And some of the action scenes are good for when it was filmed compared to now. Obviously, it's nothing like Godzilla vs. Kong. But for when it was filmed, I think it did work. But the film felt underdeveloped at times. It felt very rushed, and like there was a lot of parts that were missing from the story and the development of some of the characters. Coming in at number 25 is Godzilla vs. Megaguirus. This film was released in 2000 and had an alternate timeline where the original Godzilla was never defeated, and he repeatedly reemerges to feed on Japan's energy sources. A new weapon called the Dimension Tide is created in the intent of eliminating Godzilla, but the new weapon also serves as a gateway to something more sinister. This is kind of like split down the middle. Some people like this film, some people just think it's kind of bad. I think it's just kind of right there. The tone is a little bit off, and the CGI is really bad. It's very outdated. It's an eyesore in this movie for when it was released. The plot is a little bit weird. With how ridiculous the plot is, it does remind me of some of the earlier Godzilla movies. They're kind of over the top, and the story is focused on otherworldly creatures that do come to Japan, and so that's what we kind of get with this movie. It's fun to watch at times, but the effects and some of the directing is kind of inconsistent. So we get all these kind of different vibes from the movie, all these different kind of directing techniques and different looks for Godzilla and Megaguirus. They all kind of just seem off at times. Coming in at number 24 is Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla. This film worked many times, but when it does not work, it's pretty bad. The best things that do work about this is I absolutely love Space Godzilla. The design is pretty cool. He's pretty sinister, and he challenges Godzilla in many different ways. I love the tone when Space Godzilla is introduced. I love how he traps little baby Godzilla, and he seems like a large threat. And when he comes to Earth, you feel this threat, this urgency for Godzilla to defeat him. But some of the tone shift and some of the odd moments do come with Junior or Baby Godzilla. Previous designs, he kind of worked and looked pretty good. Here, this time, he resembles Manila pretty badly, and it kind of throws off the movie because Space Godzilla is very dark, and I think that the designs are pretty different compared to Mothra or even Ghidorah at times. Space Godzilla looks good. I love how large he is. But you get these moments that set this tone to be kind of creepy at times, but then you get Baby Godzilla Jr. that kind of really just throws it off. And luckily we don't get a lot of that in here, but when it does happen, it's pretty bad. Coming in at number 23 is Godzilla vs. Hedera. Out of all of the earlier Godzilla films, this is by far my favorite in tone. It feels much darker than other films. A lot of it does take place at night, and the design for Hedorah is pretty dark as well. It's like this black sludge, and he is a big threat to Godzilla. And I think that's probably one of my favorite things about this movie is definitely this monster and how and what he represents, and how the pollution in the movie is taken over by Hedorah and he is affecting all of that. There's a pretty good message about pollution and how you're contributing to it. This is by far one of my favorite designs for an early kaiju, and the story for it as well. Coming in at number 22 is Godzilla 2000. This is an interesting film. I was looking forward to this film because it kind of felt like a reboot to the Godzilla movies. When I watched all of them in order, I was looking forward to this film. I enjoy the poster too. The posters for a lot of these movies are really good. But this film kind of seems like it's borrowing a lot from all of the different eras in terms of its directing, the story, the tone, the designs. It kind of is like implementing different things from each different era into the movie, and it just feels very borrowed. The mixture of practical effects and CGI at times feels a bit old, while also trying to feel new as well. I do find the end battle sequence to be a little bit of a letdown. The father-daughter duo that chase around Godzilla is fun and probably the best part of the movie that's not Godzilla. So the designs, the classic throwbacks, trying to be new, it's just kind of a mixture, and at times it works, at times it definitely feels repetitive and borrowed. Coming in at number 21 is Godzilla Final Wars. This film is pretty entertaining. It has a lot of great things that I love about Godzilla within this movie. The lore of Godzilla, all of the final battle sequences are pretty good in this movie. At times it can get a little bit silly, and we see that a lot in previous Godzilla entries. It gets pretty crazy at times, which makes it hard to hate. This is a film that I do enjoy. It's got a lot of good action scenes, a lot of big kaiju moments. This film had a lot of kaiju in it. Even the 1998 Roland Emmerich Godzilla is in here. They brought back Manila. Just a crazy amount of kaiju, which makes this film pretty entertaining. It may not be the best Godzilla movie, but it's easily one of the most entertaining in terms of non-stop action. The quick pace to it, the solid tone, makes it for one of the more enjoyable Godzilla films. Coming in at number 20 is Terror of Mechagodzilla. Mechagodzilla is easily one of my favorite Godzilla characters. We've seen him so many times. There is so many solo Mechagodzilla movies. Mechagodzilla is a lot of fun in here, and the massive dinosaur named Titanosaurus is a lot of fun as well. Godzilla goes up solo against Titanosaurus and Mechagodzilla, so he's got a lot on his plate within this movie. This movie has another plot of an alien race trying to take over Earth with the help of Mechagodzilla. It's becoming a little bit old at this point in the franchise, but it is still a fun film regardless. Coming in at number 19 is Godzilla against Mechagodzilla. The way that Mechagodzilla comes about within this movie is by far pretty interesting compared to some of the other versions of Mechagodzilla. Japan makes a giant robotic Godzilla out of the bones of the dead Godzilla from 1954 when a new Godzilla reappears. The government aspect is pretty heavy within the film. Mechagodzilla looks cool and he's able to move around pretty well. The choreographed fight sequences between Mechagodzilla and Godzilla are pretty good. They're not as clunky as other ones. It kind of has a nice flow to it. The way that Mechagodzilla comes within the film and the urgency for the government to create Mechagodzilla is pretty fun as well. Coming in at number 18 is The Return of Godzilla. The Return of Godzilla was released in 1984 and retconned all of the previous Godzilla films. Something we've seen happen in previous franchises, especially Halloween franchise, where they just got rid of all the other movies, just like this film did. This film serves as a sequel to Godzilla and also a soft reboot. The tone is a bit darker. When I watched all these movies in order, when I got to this film, I thought the tone and style, the lighting, the designs, just were a drastic change, and this was a reboot for all of the Godzilla films. And I think that the design, it looks pretty cool. The suit seems a little bit odd at times, but I like the darker tone within the movie. A lot of the characters in here, they have pretty bad storylines. Sometimes they paint Godzilla as a hero, sometimes he's the bad guy in the film. And this one, they're just trying to figure out everything about Godzilla. They kind of waste a lot of moments within the film. But with it being a soft reboot to Godzilla and the direct sequel, I think it does work and it also tries to reference the 1954 film pretty well and bringing in some of those moments while also trying to establish himself in the 80s and the style of it all and the different directing styles and the story and what they really wanted to do with Godzilla. I think part of it worked while part of it also fell flat. Coming in at number 17 is Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 2. I think the title for Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 2 is the wrong title because we do get Rodan also in the film and we do also get Junior or Baby Godzilla. The subplot with Godzilla Junior or Baby is much better than the original version with Manila and that storyline. I think this is a significant difference and added a lot to the story. I really liked it, and I also liked Rodan, who I think is a very underutilized character in the Godzilla universe. Really don't get much of Rodan. I always kind of liked him, and we do get to see him in this film, and I like the take on him. He's very sinister. I also like Mechagodzilla. I like the designs for it. I like how they try to construct Mechagodzilla as a counterpart to Godzilla, but it's a stale plot. It's something that we've seen plenty of times before. It's just kind of average. There's really nothing new being added to this movie. I like everything in here. I like the kaijus and I like the Mechagodzilla and I like all the kind of different storylines within here, but we've seen a lot of movies where they try to have another big monster to try to fight against Godzilla, especially when it comes to Mechagodzilla. Coming in at number 16 is Godzilla vs. Mothra. This is a very strong Mothra film. Much like Rodan, I think Mothra is very underutilized. I always have adored the story of Mothra and Infant Island. We see that a lot in the earlier Godzilla movies. But in this film, Mothra's dark counterpart, Batra, emerges to eliminate humanity on behalf of the Earth. The two tiny fairies from Infant Island try to call upon the cosmos to have Mothra save humanity, and Godzilla is thrown in the mix. We have a three-way battle for Earth, and I like Batra in here. There's a really good battle sequence between Mothra and Batra as well. I think he's a great addition to the story. Godzilla looks great in here. There's a lot of cool action scenes in here. When it comes to a movie centered on Mothra, I really like this story, and I think Batra was able to provide that kind of good versus evil storyline that we do see a lot, and I think at times it feels a little bit average, but a nice addition to have kind of a different character thrown into the mix for the Godzilla films. Coming in at number 15 is Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla. Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla was released in 1974 and is one of the many Godzilla versus or against Mechagodzilla movies. We've had plenty of them. They all kind of have this similar structure, similar storyline, similar designs as well. The design for these Mechagodzilla movies compared to the new one with Godzilla vs. King Kong were vastly different. But this one also involves a prophecy that's discovered on a statue of a guardian stating a monster will emerge to destroy Earth. We have Mechagodzilla, we also have Godzilla, and then this other creature that is awakened called King Caesar. I really like the introduction for King Caesar, very cinematic. Some of these movies have a lot of human stories, and then the last 10-15 minutes is the big kaiju fight, and that's essentially what this is between King Caesar, Mechagodzilla, and Godzilla. But luckily there is a pretty good story going on within the movie to kind of supplement all of the downtime that's not involving the monsters and kaiju. So there's a pretty good story involving the villains within the film. And although we didn't get many epic fight scenes throughout the film, the story with the humans really did please me. Coming in at number 14 is Destroy All Monsters. All of the big monsters are kept on Monsterland, and King Ghidorah comes and they all fight against King Ghidorah. So this movie is just like an all-out fight movie with Godzilla. Manila is also in the movie. Mothra, Rodan, and Gigas, and plenty of other kaiju are in this movie. Since it's one of the earlier Godzilla movies, the costumes sometimes look a little off, and they're limited on what they can do. But it definitely delivers on the entertaining aspect. I love seeing all of the kaiju up against King Ghidorah. And then at the end, Manila stomping on King Ghidorah's body is definitely a crowd-pleasing moment. So this film, I really did enjoy. I think they gave us a lot of these big action scenes, taking all of the characters that they were using and putting them on Monster Land. They finally came with a safe place to store these monsters. But we also have King Ghidorah who's trying to interrupt all of that. So the story is really great, the battles are awesome, and it's just a really entertaining film. Coming in at number 13 is Invasion of Astro Monster. You're going to start seeing some of the earlier Godzilla movies higher up on the list. I just enjoy the classic Godzilla movies. Despite corny costumes and limited action scenes, I just love the lore behind it all. And what they went into developing some of these characters and giving a lot of backstory for them. This is a pretty strong reason to have King Ghidorah in the film. These aliens come to Earth and they need Godzilla and Rodan's help to destroy King Ghidorah, but instead, if they do help them, they will give them the cure for cancer, but things go wrong and they backstab them and they want King Ghidorah to take over Earth. When they bring Godzilla and Rodan to Planet X and then they leave them there, it's kind of heartbreaking because Godzilla is looking up at the spaceship as it's flying away back to Earth. Really love the story for Invasion of Astro Monster. The fight scenes are pretty good. I love the introduction of the Xiliens who are from Planet X. There's a lot of development for them, watching them backstab Earth, which was a solid plot in the story and came as a bit of a surprise to me. Coming at number 12 is Godzilla, Mothra, King Ghidorah, Giant Monsters, All-Out Attack. This is such a long title. This movie is absolutely crazy, and essentially what the title means. It's an all-out attack with Mothra, Godzilla, and King Ghidorah. Godzilla has always kind of been either a villain or a savior, but in this movie, he's destructive, and he's mean-spirited. And there's a reason for that, and it's a solid way to bring Godzilla into the movie. And one of my favorite interpretations of why Godzilla is being destructive. It turns out that he is possessed. This Godzilla is a manifestation of the restless souls of those who were killed by the Japanese military during World War II. And we always seen King Ghidorah as a villain, but in this movie he is a hero and works alongside Mothra to try to stop Godzilla. The plot is absolutely crazy. It is highly entertaining. And that's why it stands as one of the best Godzilla movies. It's just action-packed. The story is ridiculous, but I absolutely love it. Coming at number 11 is Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah. This is another solid, crazy plot for Godzilla and King Ghidorah. This one was released in 1991 and also is a film that really caught me by surprise. People from the future arrive to tell them that Godzilla is going to lead to their destruction and they could help them. There's a lot of time travel. It's pretty epic. They go back into the past to try to stop Godzilla when he was a dinosaur, and all of the radiation led to him becoming Godzilla. And then there's some backstabbing as well. So it's a crazy plot that involves time travel and different versions of Godzilla, and it's pretty epic. A pretty fun film, really engaging. I love the Godzilla movies where the kaiju are absolutely crazy and it's a lot of fun, and then you also have a solid human story that interacts with Godzilla and really furthers the plot, and they add to the plot of Godzilla and King Ghidorah in the film, and it works really well. So this film is highly entertaining, really solid human plot. Coming in at number 10 is Godzilla Tokyo SOS. Once again, this film includes Mechagodzilla. We have Mechagodzilla, we also have Mothra in the film. We have the Mothra fairies that warn Earth that the creation of Mechagodzilla is a mistake. This film has a solid story of nature versus technology, and I've always loved seeing Mothra and the fairies. With the three of them, with Mothra, Mechagodzilla, and Godzilla, is crazy fun at the end of the film. This continues the story from previous Godzilla movies, which we really don't see too much of continuing stories. but the military is coming to kind of terms with what they have done with Mechagodzilla, and I love that classic good versus evil story and how crazy it was leading up to the end of the film. The score supplements a lot of the great action scenes. So overall, Tokyo SOS, I've read that it's kind of like a mixed bag for a lot of people. Either people really like it or people just don't like it. At times I think the beginning kind of runs a little slow, and kind of the pacing is rather slow in the beginning. It takes some time to really get interesting, but once it does, the plot and the action all comes out and it's a blast. Coming at number 9 is Mothra versus Godzilla. An egg is found and claimed by local villagers who sell it off to entrepreneurs. Mothra's fairies arrive and plead that the egg is returned, and their request is denied, and Godzilla comes, and the fairies have to decide, do we help people or do we not, and let Godzilla kind of destroy everything. This is somewhere where the solid storylines for Mothra were established. The Mothra's fairies, the lore behind all of it, the anticipation for the egg to crack open, and anticipation for Godzilla to arrive there. It's all a blast. It's one of the earlier Godzilla films. Action scenes are going to be very choreographed. The suits are going to feel very outdated. Mothra is just going to fly around on a string. But I love the story for Mothra, and I've always loved the story for Mothra's fairies and how they are willing to help people even when things are taken from them. They really do represent the good in the Godzilla universe. Also, this film also shows how greedy businessmen are and how they're willing to exploit this giant egg for their self. And we don't get full-on Mothras in the movie. We get them as larva forms, which I love the progression of the larva into Mothra. It's all really good. Coming in at number 8 is Ghidorah, the three-headed monster. Mothra tries to have Rodan and Godzilla set aside their differences so they could attack against King Ghidorah. I love the introduction of Ghidorah in the film, and having Mothra and Godzilla and Rodan in here all kind of attacking it. Just an all-out battle at the end of the film. This is where kind of more human stories were being integrated into the film, and they were getting a little bit crazier. In the very first film, and Godzilla raids again, it's just a very simple storyline. There's not much going for it. But as each film got bigger and bigger and more stories came out, we explored different parts of the world and different structure for the story, and we got that within this movie. There's a political assassination subplot. A princess is possessed by extraterrestrials, and Mothra is still in larva form, trying to convince everybody to kind of calm down and be friends, and let's attack Ghidorah. It's a good film about putting aside your differences and helping humans. I love this film. I love King Ghidorah in all of the Godzilla movies. Is by far my favorite character, probably followed by Mechagodzilla. I love just the look of him and how he is hyped up in a lot of the movies, and we do get that in this film. Coming in at number 7 is Godzilla, King of Monsters. This is the second Godzilla film in the new MonsterVerse, and I know the human subplot, and I know the human plots really take over this film, and a lot of people dislike that for this movie. But this is visually one of the best Godzilla movies, if not the best looking Godzilla movie. The anticipation for Rodan, Mothra, and King Ghidorah in the film, they all look stunning. And the action scene between Godzilla and King Ghidorah at the end is breathtaking and destructive. And I don't care much for the human characters like Vera Farmiga's character, Millie Bobby Brown's character. I could really cancel out all of the human characters and just watch all of the kaiju moments, and I still would put this at the top because it is breathtaking, it is stunning, it is action-packed, and I love it. Coming in at number 6 is Godzilla vs. Biolante. If we were to continue the MonsterVerse, give us Biolante, because Biolante is absolutely crazy. The different forms of Biolante always give us an eerie feeling when he is this rose in the beginning of his form and then just turns into something absolutely massive and scary. It's a good plot and a really strong character. If they were to continue the MonsterVerse, please give us Biolante, because Biolante is easily one of the most epic and scary monsters in all of the Godzilla films. This film was released in 1999, and after the previous Godzilla attack, a miniature arms race ensued to collect his cells. Concerned over the possible return, the Japanese government uses cells to create a new bioweapon. This aid results in a new mutation of Biolante, and we see a lot of great progression for the character, and each form is just so menacing and very intimidating and a large threat to Godzilla. Biolante, so cool. You need to see this film. Coming in at number 5 is Godzilla vs. Kong. I've seen this film twice now, twice in theaters, and I really love the story, how it focuses on Kong, and you really kind of sympathize for the character. But Godzilla in this movie is really intimidating too, and the action scenes between Godzilla and Kong, they're epic. I kind of grew on the human plots with this movie and discovering Hollow Earth, and then also having Mechagodzilla in here. The designs for Mechagodzilla seem very different from what we know, but I really like how ruthless he was, and he was a large threat, and he was really able to just take down Godzilla. And King Kong was in there to help out. But this film is action-packed, explored a lot of Hollow Earth and Godzilla and King Kong, and it's just entertaining. Watching them fight each other is just so epic, and watching their different abilities come out, it's probably one of the most rewatchable Godzilla films. Coming in at number 4 is Godzilla 2014. This is the reboot of the Godzilla movies directed by Gareth Edwards, and I loved how simple this movie was and how they teased Godzilla so much. Times it's a little bit irritating, but most of the time you just are in awe of the design and the scale of Godzilla. And at the end, it kind of gives us everything we wanted, an all-out epic battle scene between Godzilla and the monsters that are in the movie, and you see all of his abilities come out. The human characters are limited, but they also do work, and they're integrated nicely into the story. We're seeing how humans are reacting to Godzilla in the film. But this film looks good, and the score is amazing. It's directed beautifully. The visuals are absolutely stunning. One of the best Godzilla movies. Coming in at number 3 is Godzilla vs. Destroya. If we were able to continue the MonsterVerse, give us Biolante and give us Destroya. Destroya is by far one of the most challenging characters in the Godzilla universe compared to Biolante. A burning Godzilla on the verge of meltdown emerges to lay siege to Hong Kong. At the same time, horrifying new organisms are discovered in Japan. These crustacean-like beings are seemingly born of the Oxygen Destroyer, the weapon that killed the original Godzilla. So Godzilla is on the verge of exploding and destroying Earth. Destroyer kind of works as a savior to Earth and also as a villain to Godzilla. And I absolutely love the style of Destroyer. And I also love how he was integrated into the story. It is so epic. This has an epic conclusion, probably one of the best in the Godzilla movies. And the constant urgency in the movie, because it's like a ticking time bomb. Plot for the humans, Godzilla, Destroya always feel important. And the urgency behind all of it just works so well. It gives it a nice pacing. It's constantly dark. Destroya's designs are meant to be scary and a good counterpart to Godzilla. It's got a nice build to it, leads to that really epic conclusion. Coming at number 2 is Shin Godzilla. This is also titled Godzilla Resurgence, and this is probably one of the most creative Godzilla movies. The different forms we get for Godzilla and watching his transformation into the Godzilla we know, each part is just truly terrifying. Godzilla is kind of like animated in the film, and each part is so destructive. Watching some of the earlier Godzilla forms and how it's making its way through the city and terrorizing everything, it's really epic. And it all has a really quick pace to it as everybody's trying to figure out what to do. And each form really surprises the government, and they have to adapt quickly to try to change their strategy to defeat the new form, and then it changes again, and then again, and again. It's just crazy. Each form, how it gets bigger and bigger, and it makes the film feel bigger and bigger and more epic. This is a great film. I wish they would have continued after this movie, creating films like sequels to this movie and bringing in different kaiju to kind of supplement the film and be introduced in this universe and see how they grew as well. It'd be really interesting to see a kind of film like this, but with King Ghidorah in the film, and how he's growing as well, or Rodan, or just something, because this is a really epic film. But coming in at number 1 is Godzilla, the film in 1954. I loved its simplicity behind it, and I love how terrorizing Godzilla does feel despite it being black and white and limited action films, and the costume designs. All of it still feels very important, and how everybody's trying to react to it, the legend behind him, and the stories that people tell, and the kind of the whispers of Godzilla. It leads to the moment that Godzilla is revealed slowly behind the hilltop. It's breathtaking. I love how Godzilla is presented in the film and how everybody is terrified of Godzilla, and there's no monster for Godzilla to fight. So it's really personal to this character, and it's just a solo Godzilla film. And I love the structure behind it, how simple the story is, and how the world reacts to Godzilla. So by far, this is my favorite Godzilla film, but every single Godzilla movie is just entertaining in its own way, and all of the different kaiju and monsters and creations in here. Godzilla is an epic franchise. We've seen some highs, we've seen some lows, but there is no denying that Godzilla is an icon in cinema. So there you guys have it, all 36 Godzilla movies ranked worst to best. How would you rank all of them? Let me know in the comment section down below, and stay tuned for my ranking of all the King Kong movies. There's a significant less amount of King Kong movies. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure to hit that thumbs up button down below and subscribe for more up and coming content. My name is Just Watching Movies, and you guys stay classy, YouTube.